Fisherman went to the sea and his wife standing in the shore, longing for her husband to come safe back home.
Writing a letter, thinking of his past and recollecting his memories, just looking at the stars.
You're spot on with the sky.
And the starry night. Yes.
Yeah. Reaching for something higher up. It's that kind of like pleading.
What are the basic building blocks of your school of music?
It is not meant to be linear all the time. Sari paga 1 2 5 3.
Kind of around the 1500s, people started to write music down. So that
How universal music is.
Every raga has a emotion or a feeling that it evokes.
like our music is that every piece has a different character.
It's all about ornamentation, phrasing, rhythm, improvisation, emotion, and ultimately how you interpret music.
In any composition, you say, there'll be sangadis, improvisation. The same line could be sung in different styles.
We do need the funding in the school. We need more parents and adults to know the benefits of music.
I don't know how you picked that up. Steven. Do you know Tamil by any chance?
Karambuja pasha bijapuram garisa risani sani pagarisa riga karambuja pasha bijapuram kalusha viduram bhutakaram haradi guruguga doshida bimbam hamsadvani bhushidayerambam vatapi ganapatim bhaje hamvarana.
Namaskaram and welcome to Raga Meets Harmony, a podcast presented by Raga Beyond Borders. Thank you all for those wonderful opening renditions. Today's conversation is not about testing one tradition against another. It's about listening with curiosity. Some of us may be deeply familiar with Carnatic music, some with Western classical music, and some may be discovering these worlds for the first time. Today, we are delighted to welcome Stephan Monelly and Corinna Monelly from Monelly Music in the United Kingdom, representing the Western classical tradition, and representing the Carnatic tradition of South India. We welcome Mr. Viveck Murugavel, founder of SS Music Academy. To lead us into this first part of conversation, I'll hand it over to Mrs. Akila Ramaswamy.
Namaskaram, everyone. We've just had a glimpse into each musician's musical world. Before we explore the craft, technique, and tradition behind the music, let's take a moment to understand the people behind the art. Corinna, do you feel you chose music or did music choose you?
Well, I definitely think music chose me. More so because I can't remember deciding to do it. I was so young. I believe I was about 3. So I can't remember how I decided to do it. But it's just, I guess it was just always there inside. There was nobody in my family that played. So it has kind of come out of nowhere. But it stayed with me through my whole life. So, you know, I used to go gymnastics, I used to go dancing as well when I was a kid. But music is the only thing that stayed with me to this point in my life, where I'm actually actively, like every day, I'll be on the instrument practicing.
Beautiful. How about you, Viveck?
I feel like music chose me in the beginning. I had performances during school annual day competitions and programs. And later, I went to choose music. I had an engineering graduation and I was doing completely different works in the later part of the life. Then I went back to music. I wanted to do something in music and I came back to music. it is both the way. Music chose me at the beginning, and I chose music at the end.
Interesting. How about you, Stephen?
I would say I think I started music as an adult, but I really enjoyed listening to music as a child. So I guess I chose music as I got older.
Uh-huh.
But I would have liked to have learned music being younger, but I was just more of I had no finance getting a music teacher, or at school either. There wasn't any music lessons at school. But yeah, I definitely yeah, I would have loved to have started younger because now I'm into music as being older. And yeah, I guess I find everything's a lot harder. I think when you're younger, you just kind of, yeah,
Very true, very true.
get into music easily.
And this is to you, Vivek. What is music to you today? A profession, a practice, a language, a companion, or something else entirely?
I would say it has become my lifestyle,
Oh,
not a companion. Or you see, I don't see any day of my life without teaching music. Every day, one day or the other, I would have class, except the days that I fall ill. All the other days, I would be engaged in one or the other classes. So it is like every day I explore something in music with the students. When I teach certain techniques to some students, I explore something new with them. So it is like everyday part of my life.
Corinna, how would you?
Well, I would have to say profession because that is my job. But I agree with Vivek. It does very much feel like a lifestyle because it's just always there. But also, like where I've got to where I am, I see music as a challenge as well, like a beautiful challenge. Whereas I just want to try harder things, improve my technique, even now. And it's just something that I keep trying to do, just try and play harder pieces every year.
Stephen, for
Yeah,
how
that's
you?
what. Yeah, I like definitely because that's probably one of the reasons why I did going back to that question go into music is because I liked the challenge. I found everything really hard, but I didn't stop. I didn't stop at the first hurdle, learning the first couple of notes, learning the first piece. Yeah, I didn't stop. I kept going, and I definitely, yeah, the challenge is what keeps you going.
Interesting. We have met the musicians. Now let us hear the history.
So now we'd like to know more about what is the history and evolution of the tradition that you are carrying forward. So could you elaborate on the origins of your form of music?
Well, yeah, I can actually give you the origins. So the year 500 is kind of when music first started to come out. It was actually the Christian church. The monks used to just sing like a single melody line. Not really a lot of variety, just very kind of like flat line. Then they just started to introduce a little bit more polyphony, which is the more voices come in and they just start interweaving. So that was the first signs of actual like music. And then after that, it was the Renaissance period, which was kind of around the 1500s. And then that's where people started to write music down. So that was the first signs of music, sheet music being around. We don't really talk about those very much. We don't normally go back that far. But then we go on to the Baroque period, which is the first, the main musical period that we play and we talk about. So this is the 1600s to about 1720, 1750. Really, really elaborate. There's like artists kind of know what Baroque means anyway, so it's very like decorative, and that's how things were. You would have trills, ornamentation, just things to make things sound a little bit more interesting. And then we moved on to the classical period, which is where Mozart came in. And this was a little bit of a rebellion from the Baroque period. So where the Baroque period was quite fancy, quite complex, the classical period decided to dial that back, only really dealing with chords 1, 4, and 5, but playing scales and arpeggios and having that be the type of performance. I would say this is a little bit of my personal opinion, but also it's kind of factual. Classical period music it's kind of pleasant, but there's not much meat on the bone for like emotions or things like that.
Okay.
But then Beethoven turned up and then decided to break all the rules. He decided to change the chord structure. He added singers into the orchestra. He would create dissonances within the music, and that's when the first signs of that kind of really like emotional, really pulling at the heartstrings. So he was the one that kick-started that, although technically Beethoven was in the classical period, but he was pushed things along. And then that just opened the door to so many romantic composers like Liszt, Rachmaninoff. And coincidentally, this is when the piano as we know it was invented, the Industrial Revolution. And then we have more keys, we have a more robust instrument, and then all these composers are, who can be the most elaborate composer, who can stretch the hands the furthest. And then when it hit that point, there wasn't really much where else to go. So we go into the 20th and the 21st century, and then people are starting to play around with the key. So you might have a piece that's atonal, where there isn't a clear home key. It just kind of feels like you don't really know where it's going. And then they compose things that are a little bit more unpredictable. And then that's kind of where the classical music era ended. And then we kind of go on to jazz and film music.
I get jazz, film music, and then pop as well. So pop is also massive in piano, and I can see a lot of kind of amateur pianists, and beginners and people that are just interested in orchestral music. They are always asking for like a pop version or pop song in orchestral music. But I feel like music's going like a full circle now. I don't know. I feel the composers now are going back, doing the Handel again, looking at Baroque period, and creating their own type of music.
That's true. Yeah, we call it like neoclassical music. You normally find that in film music nowadays. So where depending on like the type of film it is, they will like hark back to like the Baroque or the classical period and write a piece that is in that style.
Okay. So that's why they always say history repeats itself, isn't it? Right. So you've given an entire history of your Western classical music. It's really interesting, and a lot of improvements and how it went through as well. So now can we listen from Viveck about this history of Carnatic music or origins of Carnatic music, please?
Coming to Indian classical music, let me talk about Indian classical music, then later I will talk about Carnatic form, the tradition in Carnatic. Indian classical music, as Corinna said, it started with just the melody, obviously. Now, as she said that it was from the church, they had just a melody. Similarly, in Rig Vedas, during the Vedic period, Rig Vedas, there were just tones about the higher note or the mid note or the lower note. Just three notes, Udata, Anudata, Swarita. So these were the notes that they had based on the pitch difference. And that evolved into music later in the later period. From Rig Vedic period, it has started. The Rig Vedic period dates back to like even more like second century or even beyond that. And here I would like to mention about a textbook called Natya Shastra. That is the first written textbook about Indian classical music, not just about classical music. It is a textbook that contains an elaborate description or details about performing arts, theatrical arts, you can say it that way. So, where they explained about how the drama should be, how a dancer should present himself or herself, how a music should accompany a dancer or a performer, and what kind of emotions are being involved into it. So, these are very elaborately described or discussed in Natya Shastra, which was written by Bharata Muni, a sage. It dates back to 3rd century or 2nd century. This all falls into the 2nd to 5th century range. And during the same time period, in Tamil literature, I am from Tamil Nadu, South India. So in Tamil literature, there is Silappatikaram. It is written by Ilangovadigal. So Silappatikaram is also a textbook which talks a lot about music. And you can see, even at present in Western music, we have modes, right? The same modes are there in Silappatikaram. They have mentioned them as palays. There are different types of parlays, and the modal shift of tonic that we currently use in Western music or being rendered or in the Silappatikaram, they are all mentioned. They have used, I could say, this very interesting point here. The 12 notes, they have related the 12 notes with the 12 zodiac signs. So they have related with the 12 zodiac signs, and then they have calculated how the shift between the nodes and those things during that period. And then later it has evolved to through many process. I'll quickly come to the medieval period, where it is about the Trinity of Carnatic music, we say. There are three main persons, main characters of Carnatic music. They are Sri Tyagaraja Swami, Sri Muthuswami Dikshidhar, and Sri Shyama Shastri Swami. So these three has played a major role in creating enormous compositions in Carnatic music, with plenty of ragas coming into play, plenty of scales coming into play, and uh, and they have just created out of devotion. They just gave all these compositions as an offering to the Lord. And we still follow the tradition. These were all passed down to us through tradition. As you can see, it is in Western music, there are staff notations, right? Where you can literally see the staff notation and exactly you can replicate the piece. But in Indian classical or in Carnatic music, it is passed down through generations. So once a teacher teaches me a composition, he should have learnt it from his master. So that is how it is being passed on. So the minute detailings or nuances are still preserved through this. We say it as Guru Sishya relationship, that is master and student relationship. So that is how it is being followed till date. And yeah.
Thank you, Vivek. You actually answered the extension question that I had about what is the key thing that kept its roots. Can I ask the same question to Stephen and Corinna?
Well, it was interesting, Vivek, what you said about how you learn the song and then you just pass it down. We do have like an area of that here as well. We call them traditional songs. Things, I think, like Scarborough Fair is one. But there are quite a few songs that have like actually come down as well. We don't treat them like that though. That's the interesting thing. So if you were ever to play one of these traditional songs, it would be more in line with how we play everything else. But yeah, I actually found that really interesting that we kind of dismissed that side of things the way you haven't. So that's really good. Yeah.
Thank you, Stephen and Corinna, for giving us your wonderful insights into your world of music. And now I'd like to hand it over to Akila.
Thank you for that fascinating historical perspective. While these traditions emerged in various places and cultures, they have both endured for centuries. Just curious, what are the basic building blocks of your school of music? Corinna?
I would say like harmony is a really, really big part of Western music. Always just trying to find different ways of, underlying the main melody, just having something else that changes it. And I would say that is what's really kept us going, is the idea that you can just try different things, just finding different ways of blending things, even like different instrument combinations as well, I suppose.
You're saying like culture. I mean, with instrument music, it's, you got the French, you got the Italians, completely different to the English. So our music is actually from the French, it's from the Italians, you know. All the words that we say in music are majority Italian. So it's quite difficult to say that like an English culture or English or you got like the Western, but it's still very
They're very diverse.
very
Even within
different.
that, yeah.
You got
Very true.
the Russian orchestral music, which is completely different. Polish as well. Um, so yeah, it's really hard to pinpoint because I guess other people from different countries would say, no, hang on, we don't really focus on harmony. We're more about like, you know, chromatic or
Thank you. How would you make?
In Carnatic, they clearly say Shruti and Layam are the base of music. Shruti is the melody factor, and Layam is the factor of measure. Instead of saying it as tempo or beats, I would say it as a measure. So you measure the time, and within the time, you fill it with certain frequency of sound, and that is what it creates music. Shruti and Layam, melody and measure.
Thank you. Corinna, what caught your ear when you first heard the other school of music?
I thought it was I can hear the similarities in almost in like the main melody. But I think the way that you deal with the decoration side of things is very different. And actually, what I thought about is vocally. Normally, what you have is a very like kind of a straight line, and then like and then like a kind of I see it like a circle, kind of
yeah,
like
it goes
decorate
round.
it where it
Yeah.
goes round.
Yeah.
And actually, in our way of vocalizing things is we have this thing called vibrato, where you sing a note and then you kind of oscillate, not really to the next note. It's just more like just on the outskirts of the note. So it'll be like this kind of a, ah. But that just to us that's just like one note. But whereas like I find with you is like it's kind of like the straight, but then like and then like you can kind of hear
Goes
like,
back
the
again.
rotation from the different notes, and I actually thought that was like really fascinating.
That's quite interesting. Yeah. How about you, Stephen?
I'd say there's not that much of a difference too, to be fair. Like, I mean, I was listening to a lot of like flute music and I was like, well, it sounds very similar. Okay, yeah, they're using a small little different structure, but I don't know, it's not completely different.
Music is universal, right? Yeah. Let's hear from Vivek. Vivek, what is your say in this?
I was surprised to see so many instruments playing on the same time live on stage. Because in Carnatic or Indian tradition, we just have a main artist, a melody accompaniment, and a percussion accompaniment. So this is how a usual concert or any kind of concert would go on in classical tradition. But when I heard about the Western tradition or Western music tradition, they do the symphony kind of thing. So where, as Corinna correctly pointed out, harmony is the basic building block for the entire tradition. So they need all the instruments playing on supporting together for the lead melody to come out, so that the backing harmony comes into play, which evokes the certain kind of emotion based on the chord progression. So these are quite fascinating.
That's interesting. And Vivek, let me put this question to you first. If you had to introduce your tradition to a complete beginner using just 3 words, what they would be?
Okay. So the 3 words for a complete beginner about Indian classical music tradition is discipline, practice, and patience.
Well said. How about you, Karina and Stephen?
That's the same. Yeah, I would say the same for us. Yeah, that's literally it. Think of something else.
Okay.
Yeah, I not about. I think the why Corina relates it is that if it is a music tradition, obviously you need practice, you need discipline, and you need patience. So this is common for anyone to introduce to the music field. That's why I think she feels so much connected there.
So, can you give us a demonstration of how your each other's music forms overlap in a topic that you already spoke about, which is vibrato. Can I request Stephen and Corinna to speak a little bit about what vibrato is in Western classical music and what is its significance?
Well, vibrato, it wasn't always there from the beginning. So actually, if we look at the Baroque era of the little operas that they have there, they actually wouldn't use vibrato. Although interestingly enough, they would have the ornamentation in the sense of trills and turns and all these other ways of decorating the melody. And actually, it's later on. It came in because it's just, to us, it gives the sound a bit more like full, a little bit more emotion. So rather than just having this kind of like we go that's it. And then like we've and then that kind of took off in all styles. So you'd be hard pressed to find any musician now that is not going to use vibrato. It's in opera, it's in musical theatre, it's in pop.
So am I right in understanding that vibrato is a specific form of ornamentation?
I got a few, yeah.
Yeah.
Go on.
Yeah, I suppose technically it is, like if we think about it, but I guess it just comes so natural to us that it doesn't. You don't really think of it as like anything other than it's just there. And we do that with all the instruments as well. Like if you with the violin players, like you'll probably see this kind of like the hand action on the making the sounds like vibrato. I've got a flute here.
That was excellent.
Yeah, so we vibrato everything. I don't think there isn't like an instrument that we don't do vibrato on. Yeah, we just put it on everything.
I have a quick follow-up question. Is vibrato the same as trills or similar?
No. So a trill is actually you play the other note as well. So I can demonstrate a trill. So you're actually going between the two notes, and the vibrato is staying to the same note, and then we use like a form of breath control to control the one note, and then you just oscillate in between the points.
I'm sure that Vic is drawing a parallel to what it is in Carnatic music system. So, yeah, do you like to go ahead now and give us an idea of what you think about this?
Fine. As Corinna, you have just explained about the trill, right? The trill is actually what we do, the gamaka, what we say, kampita gamaka. We say that as kampita, where we oscillate between two notes. And that could be between any notes in a raga. For instance, let us take, I'm going to just demonstrate the raga called Riti Gaula. So where you can see the oscillation between two notes. By skipping a note in between, you can see. Sa ga ri ga ma So it went from second to fourth. But the third was still staying there. We did not even touch it, but it sounds more pleasant. So we don't have to just touch the adjacent notes only in that particular raga. This is what the ragas are. When we talk about ragas, apart from scales, you can have different combinations out of the 12. Out of the 12 notes, you can have different combinations of them and create a melodic pattern out of it. It is not meant to be linear all the time. It could be in a zigzag pattern. For example, where I went sari paga 1 2 5 3 four. It went 4 6 7 5 madani pa ga ma re. So this you can create any pattern and explore endless dimensions. So the last thing that I performed was in the raga called Kannada. So this is what gamakas in Carnatic is. Not just the trills or oscillations, it can also glide from a note to another. And there is one raga which predominantly survives with the Jaru Gamaka, which is Neelambari, I would say. There is a raga. They say every raga has a emotion or a feeling that it evokes. Neelambari is a raga which is associated with sleep. So when someone sings the raga to a baby, or most lullabies are composed in Neelambari in Carnatic. So that raga goes sa ga ma pa ni sa. So it was from fifth to the seventh, for all the way from five to seven. Sa ga ma pa ni sa. Sa ni pa da ni pa ma ga re ma ga. Even the fourth, we don't touch the fourth up at the point. Ma ga re ma ga re ga sa. When you come back to the root, when you land back to the root also, it is not obviously on the point. So all these glides and the oscillations and all these things make up the beauty of a raga, and they are the life of a raga, I could say that as.
Let me ask both the side musicians, what is the purpose of vibrato and what is the purpose of gamakam?
Well, I mean, the purpose for vibrato is just to apply more emotions into the music. So I guess if we took vibrato off of everything, to me it would sound quite cold because I wouldn't not be used to it. So
Add a bit of warmth.
Warmth, yeah, and tone is a really big thing. Like if you look into our music exams, like that's actually one of the categories that they're looking for is how full is the tone. So the vibrato adds the fullness.
I think what I like about the vibrato is it kind of you get like a melody where you hold in that note and it kind of stops time basically. What I like is that you're still capturing that moment of that nice melody that you heard, and then the vibrato is there just keeping you in that moment. A nice soft or smooth tone at the end. Sorry, I just wanted to say that.
This is so
That
wonderful
is-
way of explaining.
I feel gamakas, or as Corinna said, I would 100% agree with her. They are the part which brings the emotion, brings the warmth into music, where the audience feels connected. That is where it creates the emotion. We say in Carnatic terms, we say it as bhava, rasa. Not more than bhava, we say it as rasa. Rasa means the emotion that is being rendered and being observed as the same that is being rendered. So what I feel and I render the gamaka or something, the same feeling should be felt in the listener's point of view.
Well said. Thank you. Back to Sahitya.
Do you want to talk a little bit about what modes you have in Western classical music, and what is the scale? What are the modes, and can we try to see what are the commonalities between these two music forms?
Yeah, so I mean, I can start off by I can play like a short little phrase, and again, because this is like from the Baroque, I'll play it as without any of the ornaments in it. So it's just like the basic melody, and then I can put the ornaments in. And then I'm just going to put some ornaments in now, which on the sheet music it's not written in the main thing. They're like tiny notes that are written on the top, so it's like shown as the option. So then that's how they've just made it sound a bit more interesting.
Yeah, is it possible to do some improvisation with that?
I could. I'll try something. So all I did there was just use the same. It's just I just kept the key, kept the kind of the timings, the rhythms kind of similar, but just playing around with different notes of the scale.
Vivek, any comments on this? Does it remind you of something or anything that you can draw?
Okay, thank you. Corinna, that was really good to hear from you playing the piece from Bach. And when you played the absolute note, the plain notes, just and then you added the improvisation. No, not the improvisation. You added the ornamentations that were written on the sheet music. Then you added your own improvisation. So this is how a student in Carnatic music starts his journey into music. He starts with basic notes, structured notes. Then he adds a bit of ornamentation. He adds some bit of gamakas into it. Then he adds his own improvisation. We say that as manodharma in Indian classical music. That is how music is being rendered in Indian classical style. And obviously, you can see the same phrase. Let us take, I'm going to go for the very basic things. I'll get back to the same raga again. As Corinna has demonstrated a small piece, I would like to demonstrate a small phrase and giving intonation or a pass on certain notes changes the entire phrasing of the entire mode of the same phrase. Let us say the same R of the part of Kannada Raga. Let us take. Just a minute. Saripaga Marisa. Saripaga Marisa. Saripaga Marisa. Saripaga Marisa. So the same phrase, but you give a different sustain on different places. It changes the entire thing about the how you structure the phrase.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how I feel like the way that you decorate your melody, it's almost like it's doing the phrasing for you, if that makes sense. So the phrasing is the idea of the rise and the fall of the music.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've almost got like a natural phrasing in there.
I just want to know what are the rhythm, the polyrhythm. I'm surprised to know what polyrhythm is. And I have seen some people, they do two rhythms on two hands. One will be following in a different style, and the other hand would be following a different style. So, what the concept?
I guess if I think about this in the piano sense, because obviously, like the other instruments don't really need to play the cross rhythms, but when it comes to the piano, cross rhythms don't come till like fairly late on, because it's really, really tricky to get your head around. But basically, typically it will be quavers in one hand and then triplets in the other, and like the way that I explain this to students is just think of the words nice cup of tea. So it's like that, and it is really tricky. But there are like a few pieces where it happens quite a lot later on.
Okay. What would be the common rhythm structures that you follow in Western musics? I would just say that in Indian classical music, we mostly follow the 4/4 to relate with, not the same pattern. We mostly follow the 4/4 pattern that you have in Western. In Indian classical or Carnatic style, we say it as Adi Thalam. That is the most predominant thala that is being practiced as a beginner for the students. And there are few easier or a few different types of thalas where it is all structured with the number of beats in a cycle it has. So I just want to know how the rhythm pattern works in Western music.
You talk about time signatures. We have what we call simple time signatures, which is
Mhm.
your 4/4, like your four crotchets in a bar. You have 3/4 and 2/4 as well. They're the really basic ones. So as a beginner, they're the times that you would be looking at. Sometimes they change the bottom note, so it won't be 2 crotchets in a bar; it'll be 2 minims in a bar, and then therefore you're counting in minims rather than counting in crotchets. If they change it to 8 at the bottom, that's quavers, so you'll be counting in quavers. But then we have this on the other side. We've got another type of time signature which we call compound time signatures. So the most typical time signature you would get for that is 6/8. Now, when we say to the students, the reason why it's not a simple one is because it's not 6. You don't count in 6, because what you'd end up with is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and it's just not doesn't work. So actually 6/8 is a 2-time. So we call it a 2-time compound signature. And then what happens is the main beat is not a crotchet. The main beat is a dotted crotchet, and you can fit 3 quavers in there. So the simple time, you'll end up with this kind of like duh, 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 duh. So that's more of like a simple time. For compound time, you're going to end up with this kind of duh, 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 duh. More like kind of, it's like busier, more dance-like styles, like you would get for that.
Good to know that. Thank you for that. I have one more question, just out of curiosity. I'm asking. Please bear with me if it is just absolute stupid kind of question. Why can't we say 6/8 as 3/4? Double time of 3/4. It is the same, right? What is the difference
Yeah.
that it makes?
So it's the way you group the notes. So in a 3/4, you're going to find pair of quavers, pair of quavers, pair of quavers, and then in a 6/8, you're going to have 3 quavers in a group, and then 3 quavers in a group. So that's the difference between 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and then a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a. So technically it's the same amount of beats, but because of the way that we count 6/8 as a 2-time, you're going to find the 6/8 is quicker. So the difference between 3/4 and 6/8 is actually in 3/4, it is going to feel a lot slower than that. But you just have to listen for this. You're just listening for the strong beats, like you're listening for where the beat lands, and then you can hear it then.
Okay. So I just wanted to know one more thing. You mentioned about dotted note. Can we just have a brief about it, please?
Yeah. So we have, so every note value that we have, like you can stick a dot next to it, and the dot is half the value of that. Do you want to? Okay, go on.
Yeah, I guess I better start talking.
Please.
Yeah, so a dotted note basically gives the half of the value extra. So if you have a crotchet, which is worth 1 beat, and you put a dot next to it, it'd be worth 1.5. And same again with a minim or a quaver, it'd be so you add in half of the beat extra.
Yeah. So a minim is 3 beats. You put the dot on. The dot is going to count as a crotchet, so it'll be free altogether.
Okay. In that case, why can't we write a minim and a crotchet together instead of writing a minim with a dot? Does it make a difference?
I mean, yeah, you could do. I mean, it wouldn't change anything how you play it, but I guess it's just a matter of making things tidier. Like a lot of the things we do is just to cut down on extra things that you would need. So I mean, it's the reason why, like, with our sheet music, there's like a particular way you have to do the stem, because if you do it one way, it just looks a lot messier, and so everything just needs to be nice and neat for the reader.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes they can tie over a bar line. So if you have a minim and then the next note is a crotchet, but there's a bar line in the middle, then they would have to obviously write it like that and then put a tie over. But Barani's right. So, but if you're not including the bar line in there, if it was a minim against a crotchet, you'd go da duh, but then by putting the dot on, you're just holding it for la for like three beats. Yeah. I guess I want to know to what extent do you rely on sheet music? Because I guess like I'm getting the impression like a lot of it is handing down, play this. But like whereas like we come from where it's like you're given the music and then it's like you're going to play this. So like to what extent do you use any kind of like reading
Notation.
Yeah.
We follow
Yeah.
notation. See, there is a in Indian classical music, student learns it in two parts. One, they say it as Kalpita Sangeetam, which is being taught, and the other one is said as Manodharma Sangeetam, which is the student has to use his own creativity to create music. And
Improvise.
that should improvisation kind of, yes. So that should stick to a framework, either to a melody framework, sorry, not either, it should stick both to a melodic framework as well as to a rhythm framework. It is not just we don't follow the sheet music or the notations that are being taught, we follow it to certain extent where you are able to explore the raga on your own. Till that time, we follow the sheet music or we follow the notation that are being taught. This tradition that we have is completely oral. We listen to our teacher who has taught us this is how you should do the improvisation. He just gives a outline. You can just follow this style and you grasp it and you use your creativity and you can create on your own. It is not just meant to be like this is what the structurized thing or written on something like a sheet music that you have. We have kind of sheet music which is just the notations or just plain notes. In fact, we could say the sarigama padani, which is the swaras, the seven swaras, seven notes in different combination would have been written there. But there is no mentioning of any kind of ornamentation that are being used in the sheet music or kind of thing. We just listen it from our teacher and we render it. So the rhythm framework comes in the sense of thalam. We say it as thalam. So on a very abstract sense about thalam, we have few patterns that we follow. Basically there are five set of patterns that we follow, and based on these five patterns they could formulate any type of combinations and achieve the number of notes that they need there using the sustained note or playing the note twice, or they could do just whatever they wish to do with the melody aspect, with the notes, the colors. I would say they the notes as colors, and these are like grid lines in a graph sheet. So you can color the grid lines in the graph sheet as you wish once you have the structure ready. In Carnatic, as I said, there are five basic structures, which starts with three, the structure of three, the pair of three, which we say it as ta, ki, ta. That is three. And we have four, which goes ta, ka, di, mi. Four. We have five, which is ta, ka, ta, ki, ta. And we have seven, not six, because six is obviously a combination of two threes, right? Even here, if you see, it is all permutation combination of different values. So we have seven, which goes a simple combination of three and four. Three and four gives us seven. So ta, ki, ta, ta, ka, di, mi. So which makes this seven. So you can frame seven like that. And then we have a pair of nine, which is ta, ka, ta, ki, ta, which is 5 plus 4. Ta, ka, di, mi. 5 plus 4, which makes 9. So based on this, you can frame a pattern and sing along. Let us take, I'll take a small raga. I'll take Hamsadvani for now. Hamsadvani has 5 notes. It's a pentatonic scale. Sa, sa, re, ga, pa, ni, sa, ni, pa, ga, re, sa. Plain notes. Just in patterns of three, it would go like Sa re ga pa ni sa ni pa ga sa. In pairs of four. Sa re ga pa ni sa ni pa ga sa. In pairs of five, we just have five combinations will be there. Sa re ga sa ni pa sa. So this is how you different patterns you can form, and you can fill the spaces that are available in your rhythm framework, and then you can improvise.
In order to understand both the music traditions a little bit better, let's discuss about the emotion that each system evokes. Corinna?
Yeah, I mean, again, I suppose it's quite difficult to narrow it down to one thing because a big thing about like our music is that every piece has a different character, and even if you have something that is meant to be sad, you know, it could be like, is it sad and hopeful? Is it sad and depressing? So it's like there's a lot that goes into that. I mean, like I say, the classical period, it's like almost like they didn't really go for that at all. It was just kind of like, oh, nice, yeah, this is all right to listen to. But I suppose we could talk about the more romantic period where they did start to like bring more like, let's make the audience feel something.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, mentioning the character and but then I think the key signature as well. So depending on what key signature you are, so if major keys, we tend to, kind of say it's happy, and then the minor keys kind of we say it's sad. It's not always that case. But yeah, talking. It depends kind of what character we're doing.
Yeah, but I suppose either way, it's like whatever a composer writes, it is always to try and draw out some sort of emotion to it. So yeah, I mean, we have, well, actually in our summer concert, like coincidentally, we're doing the whole thing is nature and like trees or animals, and actually it's amazing how many pieces about animals there is. And each one is like just making it sound like that animal. Like I've got a boy who's doing Waltz of the Elephants, and it's really low down on the piano, and it's like lumbering there in free time, and it's really hard to pin down because it's all about character for us.
And even like a lot of the pieces have like allegro, so they fast, live, and quickly. So you're trying to be like a fast animal in our theme. And also if low down on the piano, to the bass clef, trying to be something like a heavier animal, like an elephant. So
and then we have articulation as well, which is playing smooth or detached. So this idea that you're playing like spiky. I mean, I can demonstrate if you want. I've got there's a piece called The Flea, which, if you know what fleas are really, really annoying. And then they've written it like that, so it's kind of. So it's that kind of detached. So yeah, we take everything into account when it comes to the sort of style of piece you want. So you are thinking about the key, you're thinking about, are you going to play it smooth, you're thinking about like, is it loud or soft, like all those kind of things.
Time signature as well. Yeah.
Thank you, that was quite interesting. How about Viveck, what is your say in emotion in Carnatic music?
Emotions in Carnatic music,
We know basically Bhakti Raza was there.
predominantly devotion. Yeah. And even the devotion, they approach it with different routes. The devotion is this, like, you have different kinds of emotion towards the divine. We could say it that way. Not divine is there, but we feel certain kind of emotion, like In any composition, you say there'll be sangatis. We say it as sangatis, the improvisation. The same line could be sung in different styles. So I would say this to my students that on the first line, the composer would have just given a plain statement that whatever he wants to convey, he would have just given a statement. In the second line, he would have used the same statement in a different emotion through the same raga, through the same notes or through the same scale. He'd have conveyed with a different emotion, like pleasing or asking as an appeal or something like that. And in the third statement, the same statement, when he is repeating it in the third time, he would have been frustrated and been asking you for to the divine. He would have felt like I'm been asking you to bless me or something like that for so long, and why are you taking so much time to answer my appeal? So he would have poured out all his frustration, kind of thing. So that comes with a little faster pace. Emotions depends on the composer and how he has composed the notations or how he has composed the song in that particular raga. Any raga could handle certain kind of emotion. For example, we can't bring happiness in Shubha Pantuvarali. There is a raga called Shubha Pantuvarali. Maybe I can just demonstrate the scale so you will have an idea of what it actually is. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni ra pa ma ga re sa.
What is your interpretation, Corinna and Stephan?
Like you're kind of like reaching for something higher up. It's that kind of like pleading.
Pleading.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like, yeah.
Could we just keep this going, please, for the next couple of minutes? Please take a composition randomly, speak your mind on what you think that raga, that scale is evoking.
Ara, arana, ara, ara, arana.
Yeah, it kind of feels, I don't know, like I can't get the words.
I'm gonna quickly help you over here. It is always it is not just one emotion. Sometimes the
Never.
ragas are also very you can extrapolate the emotions.
Yeah, it kind of feels, there's a part that feels like sad, but then there is all like hopeful as well. Like light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah.
Wow. I really like the way Stephen has put it, light at the end of the tunnel. So it is a raga where, as rightly said by Stephen, it gives the hope, even though it is dark. Wow.
Okay, let's start with Vivek, but I'm really curious. Corinna, please don't give us any ideas on what it is exactly.
It is like a boy with a small boy with no pressure of responsibilities or accountability, just roaming in a free grassland with butterflies flying all around. That is what I felt. And towards the end, it all went when I just assumed that he saw a big elephant or something kind of, which was shocking to him, and he stood there stunned.
I
That is
mean,
what I
you
feel.
built on a story. Really, this is great.
It was like lovers, both people are dancing, very joyfully, enjoying The emotions between the two parties, that's what I felt. Moving around and holding and revolving, that type of conscious, that's what I was visualizing with my wife. But anyway.
Very similar to what Vivek said, but it's like taking a walk in the meadows on a summer evening. That's what I felt.
I felt kids enjoying the freedom, lively kind of thing. They are enjoying the nature. Kids,
Lovely.
especially kids.
Lovely, lovely. My answer is no different. I thought it began a bit exploratory, as though a small child was out in the meadows and on grasslands, and kind of started exploring somewhere. Had a very very light and upbeat feel to it, probably. And is that why it lent this kind of flavor to it?
Yeah. I mean, you've all like hit the nail on the head with the style. Now, I guess this is why harmony is really important to us, because this comes with a piano part that would go underneath it. Then your opinion might be a little bit different. So it's a dance. So whoever Barani, you said it was a dance. Yeah. So it's a dance called Tarantella. And actually it's a dance that the story is that you get bitten by a tarantula and you're dancing around to try and get the poison off. So it's this kind of idea of like this kind of like chaotic. But what you said about the kids is very true, because the kids don't have those boundaries. They're very kind of like out of control a little bit. So you've captured that. So the way I say, if you heard the piano part underneath, there's like a slightly sinister aspect to the piano part, I would say, underneath. So you might get a little bit more of that, the idea of the creepy crawly side of it. But like you've hit the nail on the head of the impression of it.
Oh my God. So let's just call it tarantula in a box. This was like a jack in a box, but except this was a tarantula. We didn't expect that. Okay. Could we have one more?
Coming here to the UK and Raga Beyond Borders UK workshop.
Why the dissonance is being felt? What happens when the consonants are met? There we feel a little lack, is what I guess. The challenges that young musicians face is that
And our goal is to change that. We want to bring music to everyone. A lot of the younger generation, they're not as much into classical in a way. Maybe it's not seen as quite cool. I don't know. There's no funding in the schools anymore.
There is no other activity in the world where you use all these different parts of your brain. Even if you are looking for private lessons, it's actually very hard to get one.
Have you observed that it has brought changes to the neurodivergencies?
Yeah, definitely.
And then when you see the news and then there's like someone who's like killed a load of people, it's never somebody who plays an instrument.
Yeah.
So let's just lighten up the mood and let's have a rapid fire round.